first and foremost, I have to say that I've been looking forward to this now for actually since New Year's Eve, but it really got exciting when we spoke at the end of January. Folks, I started while we were waiting for Francisco to get here, because this is relevant to his success. There are three things that are required if you want to be successful in network marketing. And as an avid sailboat racer, there are three things that are absolutely required if you want to win a sailboat race. And Francisco, I can't wait until you and your family come to Florida so we can go sailing.
Yes.
So, but anyway, the first fundamental rule that is irrefutable in sailing, you cannot sail directly into the wind. Impossible. Okay? You have to zigzag. You can't sail into the wind. And in network marketing, you can't be successful without talking to people. Okay? Have to be able to talk to people. Second, if you want to win a sailboat race, you have to have the right equipment. And in network marketing, if you want to be successful on the internet, you need to have internet tools. And if you don't have internet tools, if you want to be successful in network marketing, period, you have to have tools that you can show the business to. Okay? Third rule, in a sailboat race, you can have all the right equipment, but if you don't have a crew or a team that knows how to use the equipment, you're not going to win any races. And in network marketing, it's the same thing. Francisco did not get where he is today by himself. Okay? He built a team. He built an organization of excited people, right? And Francisco, I'm thrilled that you're here. I've known Francisco. I feel like he's almost my son.
Yeah, pretty much, Max. Yeah.
You know, and I kind of mentioned, I says, you know, it's getting a little gray. You know, a little gray on the side there. But you know, it's part. But at least we have hair, right?
That's right.
You know, I started working with Francisco. I mean, what was it? 20 years ago? How
24, something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. How did we connect?
Well, I was in prepaid legal, as you mentioned, and I kept going on to different trainers and different industries. I mean, different events, and your name popped up. Mm-hmm. So I got on a search engine. I don't even think Google was there at the time. So I got on either Alta Vista or Yahoo, and your name popped up as how to recruit people on Instant Messenger or on AOL.
Right.
And I was already on AOL, so I said, okay, let me just check this out. Then I reached out to you, got on one of your calls, and you rushed me. Back then it was CDs, audio. Remember audio?
Right.
So you had the audio, and then you had the visual, and you had this little packet that you had to go follow along, which was really good. Then you had your coaching session. But what was interesting to me was you were helping an individual. I want to say her name was Cindy or Cynthia. In about 4 to 6 months, she got to 8,000 people.
Right.
And I was intrigued by it. You know, well, by the way, I'm live where it all started at my parents' house. This is where my network marketing career started, at my parents' house. So this is why I'm broadcasting here. But that's how we got in touch. And I was just intrigued of how you can go meeting people on AOL, then network with them, engage with them, and then actually make a new friend. That friend will turn into a business associate or a business partner.
So what prompted you to get into network marketing in the first place?
Well, one day I was just at the supermarket, and in the supermarket they had all these magazines, and they said one of them was home-based business. So I started just flipping around. And there was an ad as how you can build an income, how to save money on your taxes, and have residuals. So the tax part got me very interested. Like, wow, I can save on my taxes. So as I answered the ad was Prepay Legal, or Legal Shoe at the time. And the gentleman was building his business online. You know the gentleman, David D'Arcangelo and John Green.
Sure.
They were explaining to me, well, you can have Uncle Sam pretty much fund your business. So as they had this cash flow marketing system, I got more intrigued of how the network marketing industry was. Like, you can invest very little and have very large gains.
So, okay. Excuse me. So we started working. So you took my program, and how'd you do in prepay? Because back then it was called prepay.
Right. I did very well. I had a good team. I want to say it was under 1,000, couple of residual income was flowing in. But at the time, as I mentioned to you from day one, Max, it was just pretty much for me who was my girlfriend, it's now my wife, just to have some money in our pocket, go out on the weekend, have some fun. That's all. It wasn't even, if we would have put the effort we would put in now, back then, we'd have been millionaires. But it was just not understanding how much potential we had. All we wanted was pay the bills, have some money left over for us to go out. And that was pretty much our success story.
Mm-hmm. So why'd you get back into it a couple of years ago?
Well, I wanted to see, with all the hoopla that was going around, I had a friend that contacted me, say, hey, this company is doing very well. It's different. It's not like all these other companies that are here today, gone tomorrow. Management is strong. The product is good. The comp plan is great. It just needs one little thing. And I asked, what is it? A system. I'm like, well, let me take a look at it. And if I like it, then I'll check it out, and then I'll reach out to you in 72 hours. It did. It needed a system. I enrolled right away, and I wanted to see everything that you taught me in the past. I was pretty much talking to myself, I'm going to put this to work. Let me see if all the people that I've reached out, that I've planted a seed with, let me see if this really works now. So I got in, I want to say, I forgot what it was, late October, late November, I reached out to you. I had 20 or 30 people 1 week. Went back to some of the people that I planted the seeds with. Hey, I'm getting back into network marketing. Do me a favor, check this out. And they were just telling me, well, we have something going on. That's great. I just want your opinion. Plus, I'm adding another component that you and your team don't have and never heard of. When we engaged with those 20, 30, I explained to them how I was prospecting. I didn't give them everything of what Max Steincard gave me. I just gave them very little something that they didn't know how to engage people online without sounding like a robot or sounding like a salesperson. Mm-hmm. Then as we started moving on, I had that confidence with some whales who I planted the seeds in the past. That's how I started speaking to them and asking them, hey, do you know how to change your profile or your image or your story? No, I don't. Okay, let me help you out. Do you know how to just talk to certain people on Messenger? No, I don't. Do you know how to do a three-way messaging? So I started hooking these people, and by December, I believe I told you I had 200,
Right, when you started.
Right, exactly.
Right. So you bring in you bring in like two seasoned networkers who you ended up with 5 at the end of, I guess it was 2020. Mm-hmm. And then you kept in touch with me, and every couple of months you'd send me, Max, we're up to 10 whales. We're up to 16 whales. And of course, the numbers kept going up. And so how, when you look back through your network marketing career, what part did social media, I mean, AOL, one thing, 36 million people, limited information about the person. And of course, while you were doing that, were you still active on, were you active on Facebook in the interim? I mean, were you networking and just having fun with it like a lot of people between?
I was, yeah, I was still networking. I was still building relationships with people. Everything you taught me, I was still just doing it just to plant seeds. I don't know. It was something that was telling me eventually you're going to be able to go back to your Rolodex. Probably the audience don't know what Rolodex is, but you're going to be able to go back to your contacts and have a nice conversation without sounding like a salesman. So yeah, I was still planting my seeds, still meeting people. People were still requesting me, asking me to join their programs, and I was just explaining to them why I wouldn't. I would give them a breakdown. But yeah, I was having fun with Facebook, having fun.
I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you, I remember hearing from you, you were thinking about getting into politics.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So back in, what was that? 2004, 2005, my wife's family, they're very, very political. They wanted to unseat an incumbent. And they pretty much tapped my shoulders. Say, you fit the profile, you speak 2 languages, you're educated. Why not? Well, we gave the guy a run for his money. He couldn't speak Spanish. And yeah, I mean, right now I'm in great position because I've met a lot of people who have circular influences in politics. And yeah, I reached out to you to let you know that your system helped me get voters, and I didn't even do it in a voting or political way. I just sounded very casual, cool, calm, collected, like James Bond, building a relationship.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you go about building a relationship?
I look at now, Max, versus how at AOL, it's a lot easier. Because back in AOL, remember what your number one thing is? Connect with people who have the same hobbies as you. That was always your number one thing when we first met. Connect with someone. Because what do you like to do, Francisco? I said, I love volleyball. Find everybody who loves playing volleyball. Do you like playing beach volleyball? I do. Find people who like playing beach volleyball. And so I will have that common interest. We'll start talking about volleyball. We start talking about, and I'll have it in these kind of weird hours where people start coming up with an idea. Hey, do you not work? You don't work or something? And so that's when I throw in my pitch. Back then, it was like, I teach people how to build a successful business using their home computer at home. But now you can teach people using your mobile, whatever.
Folks, let me just interject something. One of the things we teach in the first session of boot camp is adjusting your settings so that you're always on, that people can always see that you're there. And it actually, sometimes people will come back and they'll go, do you have a life? Are you ever away, from the computer? And of course, people are more inclined to message you if they think you're there. So okay. So now you're starting to build this business and your team is growing. Now it's more than just enrolling people. You're into I remember the message he sent me. He says, man, this is work. It's like, hey, I've got this leader and I got this leader and I got all these different leaders. And so how did you deal with that? How did you handle that?
Well, I contacted my upline and their upline and their upline. I asked them, you guys are seeing the numbers, correct? He goes, yeah, you're doing a great job. Way to go. I'm like, time out. I need help. I'm not a trainer. I said I can recruit people, but I need help getting these whales up to par. I said, this is a lot of work. I'm having one of my mentors laughing at me at every conversation we're having. This is work. I didn't think this was work. So they assisting me. They've been helping me a lot. And, you know, they've been also trying to figure out what am I doing. And I pretty much just give them a very vague information. And I'd say, you want to know more, go to maxsteingart.com. You can get all the information there. Just not giving out the secret. Mm. But at the end of the day, that's what I did. I asked my upline for support to help out with with the whales.
Now, you know, and what starts to happen, folks, because nobody knows anybody. When you get into a network marketing business, you're a distributor. Everybody has grand plans. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But what happens is the company, the leaders, the existing leaders look at results. They look at activity. And so when Francisco's team starts to grow, when he goes from 200 people to 2,000, they start looking at, hey, what's he doing? He's clearly doing something. And networking companies love to edify their success stories, because as he was growing, as he was becoming more successful, what happens is, hey, Francisco, come on up and say, tell everybody, let's tell everybody your story, because it encourages everybody else to, hey, I want to be Francisco. So how long, from the time, how long did it take the owner of the company to call you?
I want to say once I got to 2,000 people really quick, asking me, all right, what is really going on? Because we have a good stream of relationship through our upline. Mm-hmm. So my upline was getting calls, and then he says, you know what? Call them yourself. So the owners of the company was calling me, is, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just prospecting on social media. I'm not doing any kind of ads, just engaging with people. It's the same thing if you were go out and meet someone at the mall or at the store or whatever. So there's nothing different.
There's one thing that comes to mind, because a lot of times you get people that claim to have a system, and it revolves around a blog, advertising, or something. Or maybe they've been in one company and they pop over and they bring a whole bunch of people with them to a second company. And then they have a jolt of activity that's usually followed by a lack of retention. In other words, people join, they're in it for 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, and then they drop off. And so companies historically were interested in, well, what do you do to get people there? And the general process is you bring someone over, and if they're happy, if they like the products, if they like the service, if they like the company, then they're going to stay. And they may very well go out and start telling their friends. But what Francisco's teaching everybody is so basic, fundamental, and so simple. And what's attracting the leaders to him is he's giving them something that they can do immediately. They can see results immediately. And then they have the confidence to share with their people, because as a leader, you get slammed. Everybody's coming to the leaders. I got a system for this. I got a system for that. I remember years ago when I was working with one company where one of the top guys in the company had just recommended some kind of a system, and nobody had any success with it. Even though this person had come into the company, did great with it. What he did was not duplicatable. So leaders are reluctant to recommend things unless they've done it themselves. And the catch-22 is the leaders became leaders, but they did it the old-fashioned way. They don't have a clue as to how to do it on social media. And when they try it, if they're trying the wrong things, boom. So they look at Francisco, who not only has done it, but he's graciously been helping other people do it. which is the reason why, I mean, when you think about it, 17,000 people at the end of December. That's impressive. Okay, 200 to 17,000 in 1 year. That's impressive. But because they're doing something that's easy to do, they're doing something that's fun to do, and they're doing something that's duplicatable, you go from 17,000 to 38,000 in 30 days. Everybody's excited. And of course, and the other thing that he's mentioning here is he's relying on his upline. He's relying on people. I mean, you're very fortunate, Francisco, that you have a receptive upline that was willing to support you, and now as it's growing, they're even more supportive. So what do you think you're gonna?
Max, do you remember a company called AMS Health Science?
Yeah, sure.
I was in that company with John Green. He built an online animated system, and here's an example of how powerful your system is. I added so many prospects in there, and in 1 day, my upline, he closed 30 out of 30. 30 out of 30, he closed them in less than a week for me. He saw how good the prospects were. He saw that because you were pretty much given point system, all the prospects saw the entire presentation 100%, engaged with the presentation, asked questions, answered, was receiving questions. All they pretty much wanted to know, is this real? Because Francisco's talking to me on AOL. Is there a real Francisco on the other side? And my upline's like, no, there is a Francisco on the other line. I'm his upline. He's not a good closer. He's still young. And yes, there is. He goes, I can put him on the phone. No. I'm joining. That's how powerful it is, your system. He couldn't believe how good these prospects were. And as I was explaining to him, like, no, I don't want to buy your leads. This is where it's at. AOL, boom. Because remember, AOL, you couldn't see the person's face. So
you didn't know their name either.
Yeah.
but to your credit, for your upline to close 30 out of 30, you did a great job of qualifying the person, making sure that the person needed what you were marketing, genuinely had a need. You did a phenomenal job of qualifying. And so that is it's so important today. What's starting to happen on social media, especially on LinkedIn, network marketers are jumping in and they're overwhelmed with the quality of prospects. I mean, you could go down a list of personal trainers that are looking for an opportunity. You're coming up with 18,000 people. And unfortunately, what's starting to happen is people are taking that little piece of information and they're just reaching out and hitting these people with, let's make the connection. And then they hit them with, it's so nice to be connected to you. Would you be interested in learning how you could make $500 a week? I'm just throwing it out there. If not, it's no big deal. And that kind of activity is forcing LinkedIn to change almost their entire system because they want to protect the members from being overwhelmed by this kind of activity. And what you did, what you've learned and you've basically perfected is you qualify the person. You spend the time to learn enough about them. And now you have reached a status. I remember, when you started reaching out to those network marketers, every time, and for those of you that are shy, for those of you that are introverted, that that you never think he'd rather You know, I don't want to use the word, nobody will ever accuse you of being introverted. Okay. But what happens is if you do A 10 times, you know, just you send a message to someone, and if 10 out of 10 times they respond, it builds up your confidence. And if every time they don't respond, you go back and you look at the profile again, you pick out, you know, I didn't pay attention to that. There was something on that profile that I should have recognized. So I'm never going to reach out. And if anytime I see this on a profile, I'm going to ignore them. Why not? Because you've got so many choices of people to choose from. So you have your own criteria. And I can't tell you how I would chuckle and I would laugh, because as you started to, you know, approach network marketers, your confidence rose. You developed, you know, your own shtick, your own style, your own way of doing things. You kept it fluid and flexible. So you would stop talking to somebody if it wasn't going the way you wanted it to go. And you'd continue with the people as they continue to respond in a predictable way. And I remember, I'm telling people in my boot camps, you're closing 8 out of 10 people that you're talking to. Why? Because you're only moving forward with the people that continue to demonstrate their, that they're a serious prospect. And you don't have to worry if you stop talking to somebody, because God knows you got plenty of people to talk to, you know? So 38,000 people, everybody's, and of course, the other great news is they don't have to buy leads. They don't even have to contact their warm market, because they're already connected to their warm market over Facebook and over to LinkedIn. So, and it's going on without hand-holding. The people that want to do it are going to do it. And I think the lesson for all of you, one of the lessons for all of you to get out of this, is that as Francisco started to build his business, he needed help. And so he went to the leadership in his company to help him. And when you start putting numbers on the board, they pay attention. You know, they pay attention. And in the course of watching how the leadership is working with your people, Francisco's watching them. He's observing what they're doing. I mean, to a point in time where you could probably do what they do by now, right?
Yeah, I could. Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you get to 50,000, you're going to have to. You know, you're going to have to. Your wife's not going to mind that you're spending more time in the business, because, hey, you can get her a new car. You know, you can.
New perk.
Exactly. What, you know, again, I started out by telling everybody the reason I'm doing these leader casks now is it's one thing for me to introduce you all to someone like Margie Alaprandi or Brent Bryson or Eddie Bestoso, people that have reached the top of a company. They've been in the company for years. They actually built $1 million businesses before social media. Okay. And they jump into learning about social media, but what worked for them, they continue to do. Some of them get very proficient at it, but for the most part, you all are in a situation. You're in a different place than they were when they started in their business. Some of them have told me, man, if I'd had access to a Facebook or a LinkedIn when I got into the business 25 years ago, I would have hit the top of this company so much faster. So what Francisco has accomplished in a year took them 3 years or 4 years. And now he's got the confidence to know that he could talk to any leader, and he knows enough about social media. We're not going to give away, I promised Francisco, I wasn't even going to talk about this the first year because I wanted to give him, you know, a track to run on. And we're still not giving stuff away. I mean, Francisco is an example of what's possible for everybody using a social network, and LinkedIn, without a doubt, is the best one.
And you know what I think is that I started pretty much from the beginning. You know, I started with AOL, and it's works. Is it a lot easier now? Oh yeah, it is a lot easier. Very easy. You know, we went through that whole change from AOL then to MySpace, and in the beginning of Facebook. And that's where I kind of got lost. But then I started coming onto your trainings, which I speak to some of your students, and I keep telling them, you got to just stay on every coaching, every training, stay close to max hip. You're going to learn. You're going to learn. I learned this. I mean, you're going to perfect it, but it's like going back to school. You got to get yourself certified, recertified. There's always new things that Max will find, you know? So.
Well, that's because the social networks are changing. You know, at one point in time, historically, Stephen Case, who founded AOL, owned social media, owned it. All of the money that they made back then, they took all that money and they bought Time Warner, and they went into video, and they literally abandoned the niche audience that got them where they were, because the ability for people to talk to each other. We've seen how Facebook had a program back in 2009, 2010 called Graph Search, where you could go in and you could pick out people. You could literally filter through the entire organization and pick out people by gender, by age, by location, so that you could connect with people, like-minded people. And once they got to a certain point and they saw so many people using it, they took it away and they started to market and promote their advertising programs. We're seeing a little bit of that now with LinkedIn, in that they have a phenomenal feature. It's something that literally came on the scene 9 months ago. And it's so hot. And it's so powerful that it will enable anybody literally to beat your competition to fabulous prospects. And now, as they redefine and redevelop their system and reformat it, you know, LinkedIn used to add 4 million users a month. In the last 30 days, they've added 11 million. And we're going to see it, you know, continue to grow. So it's like Francisco said, it's a continuing re-education of everything. And you know, you're motivated to do it because A, it's working, it's fun. Don't take any shortcuts. You know, this network marketing has been and always will be a relationship business. You have to like the person on the other end. And I'm still looking at all the gray hair.
It was bound to happen 20 years later, Max.
Well, that's true. You know, that's true. What, Francisco, if you were going to give people that are watching this, because we're recording this and we're going to put it up on YouTube. And if anybody wants to reach out to Francisco, you can find Francisco Rodriguez. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on LinkedIn. Just look at his face. You're looking for a picture that's got darker hair. But other than that, he's still the same. He's still the same guy. Okay. So, you know, reach out to him and, you know, become friends. And you got to be passionate about, you want to be successful in your business. Number one, you got to be passionate about the company and the products that you're going to be recommending and promoting. Second, you want to work with somebody that is successful in the business already, that will dedicate themselves to helping you. And then, of course, third, you know, you want to have some decent tools, you know, to make it work, you know, to make it happen, to help it happen. You have those three things, and all of you are on your way to becoming top earners in your business. And I'm thrilled that, Francisco was able to do this. I'm thrilled for all of you because, network marketing is something, when you think about it conceptually, where in the world can you start? This is what initially attracted me to network marketing. Where in the world can you start a legitimate business, legitimate, that you could build from home with a limited amount of investment and turn your time and your investment into a growing, thriving business that creates a growing stream of residual income? That's what it's all about. So that's what it's all about. For everybody that is here, we are going to be sharing one of my new training releases, Cracking the Internet Code. And you'll be getting a notice in the mail. If you don't get it for any reason, write to support maxsteingart.com. Just let us know you're on this training, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube. And if you want to get it, just write to support@maxsteingart.com. Just say, hey, I was on the training with Francisco, and I'd like to get cracking the internet code, because frankly, the social network code, because the process hasn't changed. It really hasn't. Only now you've got more information, better information, and you have an easier way to reach people than before. And of course, and you've got more people on it. What more, could anyone ask for? Francisco, so how old are you now?
45.
45.
But you know what, Max? I always keep telling a lot of your students, I'm probably the dinosaur in your coaching because of how I learned from AOL. So when I speak to some of your students, they may know more about the new social media tool more than I do, but at the end, the system is still the same. Your scripts are still the same. Your engagement is still the same, And if there is something that I can give to everyone that's on this call or anyone that's watching the recording, talk to people who have same interests that you can talk for hours and hours, and you're going to engage with people. You don't have, as you mentioned to me, you don't have to sound like a robot or a salesman. Just engage. Just talk to people about if you love flowers, what kind of flowers, or if you love bird watching, whatever, or reading, book of the month club, and you're going to see prospects, you're going to plant your seeds, and people are going to come to you asking you, what are you doing? Like, what do you do all day? Just like what I get. Then you use one of those scripts and engaged.
You know what's funny, and what's really funny is that Francisco is using an older strategy. I mean, today you have so much more information about the other person. That's working for him. And he's doing some things with seasoned, experienced network marketers that he didn't really talk about. And we're going to be sharing some of those in our upcoming boot camps. So bottom line for all of you is this: there is nothing, absolutely nothing, to prevent you from living your dream, from being outrageously successful in network marketing, thanks to social networks. Like today, it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn trumps Facebook. I got to stop saying trumps. But it does. It trumps Facebook. Now, who knows what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years? Another social network could come along. Microsoft owns LinkedIn. And so for all of you, follow your heart. Remind yourself why you're in network marketing. Engage in it, treat it like a business. There are people out there waiting to talk to you. And remember, you're not here to sell. You're here to determine, when you're talking to somebody, if there's an opportunity to sell. Francisco has now, joined a growing group of 6, 7, and soon 8-figure earners in his business, doing some very, very simple, duplicatable things. And you're all following down the same road. Francisco, I really appreciate your eagerness to do this. I'm thrilled to be able to tell your story, share your story, and I'm really looking forward to see where you're going to go from here, because it's just going to get better.
Max, I got to say this to everyone that's on this call or going to watch the recording. Max is pretty much my only mentor and coach. I mean, he is the best. He's a really good friend, and I'm being truly honest. He's seen me grow over the years. He's seen when I went from my girlfriend to wife, then to kids, and now they're getting bigger. They're doing their own thing with sports, karate, you know, and in good schools. But it's the reason why I say he's the best. He's a really good friend. So you guys, everyone that's on here or watching the recording, stay close to Max, get everything from him, because he's really sincere and he wants everyone to be successful. He really does. So Max, in the bottom of my heart, thank you for always being a good friend to me and to my wife, and well, now to the girls.
Right. So folks, we're glad you were here. We're going to put this up on YouTube, get it out some other places, and look for Francisco Rodriguez on LinkedIn, on Facebook. He's a great guy. For those of you that are looking for a leader, somebody to work with, you couldn't ask for a better support upline. So until next time, folks, best of luck in building your business. God bless. And network marketing will enable all of you to live your dreams. Just find a company you can be passionate about. Catch up to you next time.
Take care, Max.
Thanks, Francisco. Bye-bye.